analyze all the schemes, techniques, tricks, laws, public edicts, everything that the dominant white society did to socially engineer you into the lowest level of a real life monopoly game. You've been sold into it. You have no substantive leadership. The leadership you got right now is totally committed to what they set up under the benign neglect policy, which means let's fabricate all these other groups to take away the benefits that black folks should be getting. Let's give it to them. We'll fabricate new groups and call them fabricated classes. We'll now come up with things called minorities, poor folk, people of color, diversity, multicultural, and gays. Those are fabricated classes. Now, I wrote the first affirmative action plan in 1970 for the state of Florida when I was over education for the state. I did not write it for minorities. I didn't write it for gays and humpbacks and lesbians and midgets. I wrote it for black folk. In the history of this nation, they have given up over 1 billion acres of land to whites. Free. And that not only did they get the free land, but the free land and double and triple in value every 20 years. That's why they got all the wealth. And on that land, all the gold, silver, chrome, bauxite, magnesium, and timber increased in value. And out of that 1 billion acres of land. And by the same token, they denied giving black folk 40 acres. Forget civil rights. Go back and correct the conditions that you impose on black folk. You cannot deprive a group of people for 500 years of the fruits of their labor. But no money, no value, no land, no history, nothing. And they say, go out and compete. Compete with what? And so I tell all my civil rights leaders, you are foolish with the things you keep pushing. Why do you keep telling black folk to go out and fight for equality and equal opportunity? I don't give a damn about no equality, equal opportunity. And here we are, and we buy the garbage every time because we don't understand the issues. Now, so for us, unemployment is the same as it was back during slavery. Why? When I looked at the records, I found out back in those days that in major cities like Washington, D.C., Pittsburgh, Philadelphia.
Peace, love, and reparations. Welcome to Black Star TV 2.0. It's your boy, Black Star. And today, family, we're going to talk about this affirmative action, John. That's why I played that little bumper with our brother, Dr. Claude Anderson. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed to. And thank you for all the people who support the channel. But let's get into it, family. I want y'all to see what Barack Obama said about this whole affirmative action decision being overturned. And again, we all know that affirmative action wasn't for us, as you heard what Dr. Claude Anderson said. Pretty much white women are the people who benefit the most off affirmative action. Affirmative action, excuse me. I was trying to swallow at the same time. Yeah, so listen to what this dude said. And I'm gonna tap on one of the links that he actually is promoting so you can see what's going on here. Right? So here we go. I don't know why I got this shit so big. Excuse me. So it says, Barack Obama's statement, affirmative action was never a complete answer in the drive towards a more just society. Now that's true. Wasn't a complete answer because they changed it, as you hear what Dr. Claude Anderson said, because the best way to go about us getting some change is lineage based, right? We want everything lineage based because this whole affirmative action, minority and all this other stuff was doing us dirty anyway. But it says, for generations of students who have been systematically excluded from most of America's key institutions, it gave us the chance to show we more than deserve a seat at the table. In the wake of the Supreme Court's recent decision, it's time to redouble our efforts. So if you're looking for ways to help right now, here are some organizations doing important work. So based off his statement, he doesn't agree with them striking down affirmative action. But affirmative action actually hurts black folks because we get the least of the resources when it comes to affirmative action stuff, because minorities and all these people of color get in, and white women and gay white men and Hispanics, immigrants, Africans, and everybody else, Asians, they all get a piece of the pie. But Here are the organizations he said you should do some work with and support. So the UNCF, the Hispanic Scholarship Fund, APIA Scholarships, American Indian College Fund, the Dream US, the Thurgood Marshall College Fund, DC CAP, and Chicago Hope. But watch this. I ain't even gonna read Miss Obama's statement, but look, Thurgood Marshall College Fund. Let's get into this, right? Watch this, family. Because soon as you pop up on the screen, right? Oh, it didn't pop up this time. It was crazy because it was a little thing in there and it was, here it go. It just popped up. I was about to say it popped up last time. It says the Supreme Court ruling against affirmative action represents a major blow for students of color, making the work of Thurgood Marshall College Fund more critical than ever. We invite allies to strike back against the systematic inequalities that limit opportunity in America. What did Dr. Claude Anderson just say? This is how you know Barack Obama isn't for the people. And Dr. Claude Anderson was the one who wrote the first affirmative action in Florida for education, right? And he didn't write it for all of these people, especially students of color. And now they're trying to get us to fight back and ally against this. No, we're not allying against this because it hurts us in the long run. It actually hurts us in the long run. I want to play something for y'all real quick, just a couple of minutes. It's not going to be super, super long. It's about 4 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes. Watch this. Listen to Dr. Claude Anderson, family. Listen to Dr. Claude Anderson. Oh, shit.
You hear white folks always talking about they're against affirmative action plans. They're only against affirmative action plan for you. Why? You see, because I wrote the other affirmative action plan. I wrote it in 1970 when I was overseeing the education system for Florida. I did not write an affirmative action plan for everybody. I wrote that plan for black people. I did not write that plan for minorities and poor folk and people of color, midgets, humpback, lesbians. I wrote it for black folk. Why? Because, see, affirmative action was supposed to be corrective action, correcting something that the system and that the government has done consciously, historically, and continuously against a very specific group of people. That's what affirmative action is. Then why in the world do you all keep letting people put you in a bag called minority? No government hasn't done anything to the minorities. Why are you letting them put in there, comparing you and equating you to gays? And but now they're getting all the benefits. And Hispanics weren't even in the country. Now, when you go to the affirmative action plan, guess what? I got Eskimos in the affirmative action plan. Where did Eskimos pick cotton? They had nothing in the world to do with affirmative action. The government hasn't done anything to them. And you go into affirmative action program, the affirmative action program has been totally corrupted. The only people that should have been on the affirmative action plan in the first place were black folk. Because those are the only people that the government done some things to specifically exploit, misuse, abuse, subordinate, enslave, Jim Crow segregate, castrate, lynch, and do it and deny them education. Only black people. And you gotta go look at the affirmative action plan. They got everything in there except your dog from the neighbor's yard. And I don't see any blacks speaking up about it. They'll go right down and call, well, I'm a minority. How the hell you get to be a minority? What's a minority? I don't know what it is, Dr. Dennis, but I know I'm one. Because they call me one. And then leaving that point, I'm telling you, it is illegal and unconstitutional for you to equate anything to black folk in this country and make them equal. There's no constitutional basis to have any Asians, Arabs, Hispanics, women, gays in affirmative action programs or preferential programs. It is illegal. But I have seen one black person, not one black person, go to court and raise hell about it. As a matter of fact, I have whites that tell me that they were totally, absolutely surprised that they started doing that no blacks spoke up and raised Cain about it. They just sat there and let it go down. That's why back in 1970, with the Affirmative Action Plan, when I wrote that plan, they turned around immediately and came up with a thing called Title IX. Because throughout history, every time you try to do something for black folk, they would throw other groups in there to water it down and dilute it and give it to everybody so blacks wouldn't be anything left for black folk. And they come up with Title IX. How are you going to spend those money now since we dictated for black people and they got Title IX? Every county, all 67 of the letter back says any money comes out here, we're giving it to women. Not a penny would go to black folk. No black folk raised Cain. None of them said anything. They went down like that. That's what happened to your money. Because you see, and guess what it's backed by? It's backed by the United States Supreme Court. One of the most racist organizations in America. One of the most racist institutions in America is the United States Supreme Court.
Listen, man.
And I still see with a total, absolute amazement as to why black folk keep going to the court system. It doesn't make any sense. The deck is stacked by the United States Supreme Court. The United States Supreme Court has never, ever done anything and benefit black folk. Never. And they aren't going to do it. You've had the first 57 to 58 people appointed as justice to the United States Supreme Court were slave owners. And everything subsequent to the 1860s, they were either white racists or people who were totally indifferent to black folk. They're one of those two, even to the present time. They're either racist, closet racist, or they're totally indifferent to black folk. They don't care about black folk. And what they've done is to make sure that the social construct, what was set up in the Constitution about your being property and 3/5 of a human being and non-competitive, will stay in existence. The guardians of racism in America is the United States Supreme Court. That's why when the second Constitution was written in the 1860s, and you had a few liberal whites, radical Republicans those days said, we got to correct some of these things that's going on. And they crafted the second Constitution. The second Constitution was made up of the 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, and the 15th Amendment. And they also passed two civil rights laws, the 1865 and 1866 civil rights laws. They passed those laws all for black folk, newly freed slaves. They passed them for newly freed slaves. The Supreme Court jumped in immediately. And they used that same little schemes they use today. The first thing they did was said that all those civil rights laws that were passed from 1865 all the way up to the 1880s, late 18, about 1889, all those civil rights laws were unconstitutional. Nobody gave them authority to do that. The United States Supreme Court does not have the authority to do what it's doing to you all right now. It doesn't even have authority. But you don't see that black, you got all these black with law degrees. You see one.
Family. I'm going to end it there, though. But he go in. So, again, I just wanted to show y'all that actually helps us, because we want to make everything lineage based, because then they can't finesse it. They can't finesse it if it's lineage based. They can't add people. They can't take people out. So at the end of the day, lineage is lineage. And that's how almost every other group gets their resources and tangibles, through lineage. But I also wanted to talk about this student loan debt. That nigga Biden he's full of shit. So the Supreme Court struck down student loan forgiveness program, of course, right? But it's something that I actually want to read to y'all, actually. Hold on. And it's not off this one, right? It's this one right here. So they struck this down, but Biden could have just did an executive order, but he didn't. Biden is actually the reason. He is actually the reason why. Watch this. That we can't file bankruptcy on the student loans in the first place. He's the reason. Watch this. I'm going to read this part right here. This is a little part. There it goes. It's right here. Until 2005, private student loans were eligible for bankruptcy protections, just like other forms of private credit. But in that year, Congress passed the Bankruptcy Abuse Prevention Consumer Protection Act, a law that made it vastly more difficult for struggling former students to rebuild their lives by discharging their debts and starting over. So watch this. And right here, they saying how Biden, he said he believed that if he have income and consumer debts you can pay, and you should agree to repayment plan that you can afford. That's his plan now, because they struck the shit down, right? So he's like, he didn't know that basically it was going to do all of that. So watch this. But it says, despite his protestations, it is indisputable that Biden was an avid supporter of the 2005 bill as a whole, and of its overall thrust in of tightening up the bankruptcy code, largely to benefit the lenders at the expense of distressed families who would find it harder to file bankruptcy. Now, Biden was one of the most powerful people who could have said no, who could have changed this. Instead, he used his leadership role to limit the ability of other Democrats who had concerns and who wanted the bill softened. Now, watch this. This is how you know these people are just be finessing. Now, we know Biden was full of shit. We just read that. Look at this Twitter, John, with Mike Pompeo. Now, he said the student loan forgiveness was just unlawful. It would have been a fiscal disaster, 500 billion more in debt. We should be grateful the Supreme Court did the right thing. First of all, no, right? And Biden, you see how Biden was down with the Republicans to make the bill happen in the first place, right? So watch this, because they all work together to finesse everything. It's a facade. It's smoke and mirrors to make them think that they're always disagreeing, right? But I like that this one comment. What's this comment? Where'd the comment go? Somebody has said they must erase that comment because that shit was right there. He said something about this when he said the student loan forgiveness. He said, well, you sending all that money to Ukraine, and it was a white dude who made that comment. He said, you sending, oh, here it is. See, maybe, but use the Ukraine money to pay off American student loan debt. Americans' kids first, Ukraine's last. Like, yeah, for real. Whoever the hell that was. That was for real. That was like an official statement. Cause like, yeah, nigga, you talking about all this debt. Nigga, y'all sending money to everybody else. That's what I'm saying. They can do some of this stuff. They can have free healthcare. They can have free college. They can have all of that shit. They can forgive people's debts, but they don't want to. Because why? Again, he said, you heard what Dr. Boyce Watkins, Dr. Boyce Watkins, you heard what Dr. Claude Anderson said, how the Supreme Court is the gatekeepers of white supremacy. And all Biden has to do is sign an executive order, and that's it. And it's over. But see, I'm just glad a lot of this stuff is happening, because now we can do things that's lineage based, and we can get things done that's strictly for us. So if we want to get student loans forgiveness, we can do it strictly for us on a lineage-based situation, right? And again, that's why we need to get out of these courts, though. And I keep telling y'all, Tariq said that not too long ago in one of his videos. And I'm gonna play a piece of it, not today, not in this video, but I'm gonna play a piece of it to show you. He said the same thing I said about having tribal courts and all that. Dead ass, because we do. We need tribal courts, because these people are the most corrupt people on the planet. And if you think that we can change their minds and make them turn into good people, man, I don't know what this. I don't even want to say you're stupid, but man, listen, that's crazy to think that. It's crazy to think that these people don't care about us at all. They don't care about none of us, but they definitely don't care about black people. You feel what I'm saying? They sit here and work together to make these corporations all this money. Meanwhile, your average Joe out here struggling, and y'all can make y'all can change this shit, but you don't. You can change it, but you don't. But family, I just wanted y'all to see that. I just wanted to go over that with y'all. I'm going to be out. I'm going to end this off. Peace, love, and reparations. I thank all of y'all for supporting the channel. Please make sure you hit the Cash App. Make sure you hit the PayPal. We up out of here, family. I'm about to do another video in a little bit. Peace, love. We out.
Do you know that we owe Ukrainians reparations for building and defending this nation? Oh, my bad. I meant to say Black Americans. Notice how there was not one study, not one hearing needed before sending billions of dollars to Ukrainians nor any other group. Yet, when the topic of reparations for the descendants of American slaves is mentioned, we get told a motley of excuses. And I know some of you want to blame the Republicans, but it is for the Democrats that Black Americans vote 85 to 95%. And the Democrats have been complicit in their neglect of Black Americans as well. Maybe it's time we elect politicians that are actually going to fight for us. Maybe it's time we do something different, something better. Join me in getting us not just better, but the best. Join me in this fight. Thank you.